Hello and welcome to the World Gravel Championships, and we are here to check out all of the best bikes from the likes of Jumbo-Visma, and it's with them that I want to start because Marianne Vos yesterday was running the new GravelCap's tyre pressure system, and it's not new, we've seen it at a few races before, but it's a really refined version, and it's one that they're hoping to sell to the general public, and it's coming in at around about maybe just under 4,000 euros, which means that it is a significant investment. And when I asked Marianne before the start whether she or how she would be using it, she didn't seem so sure. Marianne, you've got the clap system on your hubs for tyre pressure changing. How much do you expect to be using it today?
Well, there is some little bit tricky sectors and also quite a lot of tarmac. So yeah, then it might be useful to use it. But of course, it also adds something in your mind. So sometimes I maybe will forget it, but I think I will use it.
Yeah. So just a cheeky little pressure adjustment before you attack. Is that what your rivals should be looking for?
No, I think not. But I will try and remember it in the right sectors.
Okay, so I've got Van der Poel's bike behind me. He raced the inaugural edition of Gravel Worlds on a road bike, his Ultimate. Now he's on the Grail, and I think that shows just how the course is just changing a little bit. Van der Poel has the pretty standard Grail, although he has a very, very shiny paint job. Onto this, again, like Connor Swift, he has his standard Shimano Dura Ace Di2 double group set. He's also running road pedals, so not too much of a difference from his general road racing setup. But in a move that I think actually surprised me, he's running 38mm tyres, and they look like they're ballooning up pretty big on those Shimano Dura Ace rims. I have to say, I thought Van der Poel would be one of those riders like Vos that would actually go quite narrow. Those are the Vittoria Tirreno Zeros. They have absolutely no tread at all, although they're just a little bit more than Tiffany Cromwell. A final bit of insight from my new favourite mechanic just here. Van der Poel runs no inserts, he never does apparently, and he's running 3.5 bar, which is quite a lot for a 38. Valtteri Bottas, you're at the Gravel Worlds with a very fast tyre setup, it looks like.
Well, I was actually thinking even slicks for this course because there's quite a bit of tarmac, but still went for the Schwalbe RS, just to have that confidence in the corners and I think a bit more resilient for punctures as well.
Any inserts or just sealant?
Just sealant. That's what I'm used to and dealing with, and I've rarely had, knock on the wood, any issues, so hopefully today is smooth, but in case I've got all the spares.
Yeah, and then on your seat post I can see a little CO2 canister tucked away, hopefully not to be deployed. Hopefully
not to be deployed, but it's obviously placed for easy, quick access, so let's see.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Always one for a brilliant little tech hack. Matej Mohoric is warming up just behind me, and he's got a dropper post. So obviously I asked him about it.
I use dropper on each and every corner because much easier to correct a mistake. It often happens that you slip out on gravel because there's not so much traction as on the road, and if you have a lower center of gravity, I found it helps with being able to unclip and prevent yourself from crashing.
And then at the front end you've got quite wide tyres. Is that just because the course is a bit more gnarly than usual?
I don't think the course is particularly gnarly, but on loose terrain, I think wider is better. Anyhow, even if it's something that seems like a smooth gravel, or even on cobbles, I would say wider is better. Yeah, I feel it's faster.
Luke Lamperti, the American on Soudal Quickstep, well, he's going with his Specialized Roubaix and S-Works model, obviously. And he is actually running the narrowest tyres that I've seen to date. 32mm and actually quite low on the pressures. mid 2 bar. I was actually speaking to Luke's old mechanic at Trinity Racing, Aaron, over a few beers, and he was basically getting texts from Luke to ask what to run. And I think it's telling that a lot of road pros kind of turn up to Gravel Worlds or do a few gravel races, but they're not maybe so tuned as a lot of the gravel pros in terms of what equipment suits these conditions. And also, as the weekend goes on, the course changes, it might get a bit faster, a bit more worn in. It's hard to select something for this course, it really is. From the narrowest tyres to the widest I actually saw on the start line of the female race yesterday. So I spoke to Tiffany Cromwell. Here's what she had to say. I can see that you've got some pretty chunky tyres on, probably the widest I've seen all day. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, firstly, they look wider than what they are because the SRAM Explorer rim is quite a wide wheelbase. It's kind of adapting. This is the minimum I can run on this, but I've gone for slick, which is, different. I ran this setup last year when it was Europeans on a similar course. I know it's a very fine line and there has still been some mud, but I think given the amount of road, I believe it will be a good choice. Like, okay, I can take the safe option or I can do this, which I've won on before, and take a chance.
Now the Tour de Titema team behind me, they're actually running their standard Cannondale Super 6 road race bikes, which I thought was a bit odd until I spoke to one of the mechanics who basically said that it's an availability issue this close to the race. I think a few of the guys basically wanted to do Gravel Worlds but couldn't actually get a setup tuned in time. Some of them that do cyclocross throughout the year, they do have a more gravelly setup, but for some of the riders they are just going with their standard Super 6s, but that's not too much of a problem. They say they can still fit 35mm tyres, although they do seem to be going relatively hard on their pressures. 2.8 bar, I was told. There's also an argument whether this is actually a gravel race, and I think for some people the UCI's involvement means that it will never have the spirit of gravel, but this course seems to be much more gravel than the first few. And it kind of tells, because we're seeing a lot of riders transitioning away from riding their road bikes onto all-road or gravel bikes, but that's not the case for everyone, as we've seen with Connor Swift.
I've been racing with the X, so that's obviously like Pinarello's like endurance road bike. Normally it can take 35mm tyres, but I can squeeze on some 40mm tyres in there, and with it being dry, and I haven't got an issue with the mud clearance basically. So yeah, that X, that's what I've been doing my other gravel races on, and it works really well. It feels very similar to my road bike, the F. Obviously that's what I train on and race on all the time, so there's not a massive difference between the bikes. That's what's interesting with gravel. Wherever you go and whatever the organisers interpret gravel like, it's always going to be different. There's always going to be criticisms, and there's always going to be people that prefer other courses compared to last year's or the year before. All over the world, everyone's gravel ride is absolutely different. Like, especially my home road gravel rides, I do a lot in the woods, and it is a bit more farm tracks and a bit more muddy. So yeah, I think that's what makes this race and gravel racing just so interesting. And then you look at America, like their gravel is like totally different again. You got bigger rocks, big wide gravel roads. It's just a big slog out there, and I would like to go out there and experience that too.
Other than that though, it's a pretty standard setup for Swift. Like, he's got pretty much his road gearing on there with a double Shimano Dura Ace crankset, and that seems to be the theme for most road pros. I saw in the women's race yesterday, one rider from Française des Jeux on the Netherlands team was actually running a dropper post in the rear and then a suspension fork in the front. I'm here with Matt Holmes. I've just been taking a look at your lovely Factor Ostro gravel. There's nothing on here that's of more interest than what's in your hand.
Yeah.
What is in your hand?
Well, my phone is a massive Google Pixel 7 Pro, and you can't really start these races without a phone. So I went on Amazon and I bought the world's smallest telephone.
That is incredible. Does it actually function?
It functions really well. It's basically made for smuggling into prison, and it comes with a built-in voice changer, so you can sound like Optimus Prime on the telephone.
Well, that's fantastic. And with that, I'm back at the press centre. I've taken a moment of calm to really digest all that I've seen. I think my favourite bit of tech was the slimmed down, sleeker version of the CAPS system on Marianne Vos's bike, and it obviously probably worked because she won. I have to say though, I am really pleased to see Mathieu and a lot of other riders using gravel bikes at the Gravel Worlds, not because I think you should use a particular bike for a particular race, but I think that it signals that the UCI is actually getting to grips with designing courses that really fit the gravel name. But what did you think of all the tech that we've seen this weekend? Let me know in the comments below. As ever, do be a gravelly gem and like, comment and subscribe. We'll see you next time, but if you want more gravel content, up here please.